Hello everyone, I'm Frank, and welcome to episode 39 of Learn How to Sudoku, where we take very easy variant Sudoku puzzles and we break them down into detail so that you can learn how to Sudoku. Today's very easy puzzle is called Dragon Totem by It's Vera, and here are the rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply, which means place the digits 1 through 9 in every row, column, and box without repeats. Dutch whispers. Digits in cells directly connected by an orange line must differ by at least 4. So therefore, this 3 can be next to a 7, 8, or 9 on a Dutch whisper line, right? So therefore, these can be 7, 8, or 9 specifically as possibilities because they are all 4 away from a 3. Every other digit, obviously, is not 4 away from 3, so they cannot be allowed on the Dutch whisper line next to the 3. So that's how Dutch whispers works. Digits separated by a white dot must be consecutive. So this is called Kropke dots. And these are specifically the white version of the Kropke dots, where they must be consecutive. So if this were a 6, this would have to be a 5 or 7 to be consecutive. And that's how white Kropke dots work. And then we have digits separated by an X sum to 10 and V sum to 5. And not all possible X's and V's have been given. And I think this is just normally called XV as a rule set. So for example, if this were 3, this would have to be a 7 to add up to 10. If this were a 1, this would have to be a 4 to add up to 5, because V separates cells that add up to 5, and X's separate cells that add up to 10. And those are all the rules. If you'd like to play along, there's going to be a link in the description. And now, I'm going to get started. So let's learn how to Sudoku. Okay. Easiest thing to identify is this has to be Well, this always has to be 1 and 4, right? Because it cannot be 2 and 3 because we already have a 3 in the same box. So this can never be 2 and 3 because 3 would have to be here, but then we already have a 3 here. So this has to be a 1-4 pair here. That's one way of easily limiting these. Again, these digits have to be 7, 8, or 9 because of what we figured out for the Dutch whisper previously. Therefore, what can this be? Well, it can't be a 1, 4, or 3 because there's a 1, 4 pair already in box 9. And we call this box 9 because it's just convention. So by convention, we number the boxes in typical Western reading notation, which is left to right and top to bottom. So again, this would be box 1, this would be box 2, box 3, box 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So in box 9, we have a 1, 4, 1, 4 pair, which eliminates which eliminates 1 and 4 from the rest of the box. And similarly, we already have a 3. So this can't be 1 or 4. It can't be 3. It can only be 2 or 5 here, right? Because those are the only digits that can be 4 away from any of 7, 8, or 9. Well, these digits must be 1, 4, or 2, 3, and this specifically can't be 4, so this specifically can't be 1, because a 1 requires a 4 to be adjacent to it with the V. These also have to be 1, 4, or 2, 3. Therefore, in the remaining cells in column 6, we already have a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple, which means the rest of the cells in that column cannot contain 1 through 4. So these have to be 5 through 9. And this is 5 through 9, but this can't be 5 because of this 5. So this could be 6 through 9 here. What else do we know? Well, we know these two digits must be next to a single digit. And they have to be 5 or higher for both of them. So that means these have to be a low digit. Because if you had, say, you can't have a high digit next to both of these digits, right? Because if you tried the highest digit, which is 9, well, that's 4 away from 5, but it's not 4 away from 6, which is the next lowest digit here. And you have to be next to 2 unique digits that start with 5 and above. So obviously, none of these can be high. So these could be low, but it can't be 1, 4 because we have a 1, 4 pair in column 7, which eliminates 1 and 4 from the rest of the column. So this specifically has to be 2 or 3. Well, 2 is the lowest possible value here, and that cannot be next to a 5, right? Because 5 is only 3 away from 2, and then 5 is also only 2 away from 3, so 5 can never be either of these cells. In either of these cells. My apologies for... so therefore, this has to be either 6, 7, 8, or 9 in these two cells. Well, interestingly enough, we have a 5. We have 2 cells which are separated by a V, which means they must add up to 5. And if we tried to make them 2, 3, that would eliminate all possibilities for this cell. And so that's, again, I'm trying to eliminate possibilities here by limiting certain factors. So this can no longer be 2 and 3 as a pair. It has to be 1 and 4. Because if you tried 2 and 3, that would eliminate all possibilities for this cell. Well, this can't be 4, so therefore this must be 1, which forces this to be 4 to add up to 5. 4, on the other hand, can only be next to 8 and 9 on a Dutch whisper line, right? 4 is, if you subtract 4 from 4, it becomes 0, which is not a normal Sudoku digit. And if you add 4 to 4, it can be an 8 or a 9. So these are 8 and 9s. And again, we're looking for ways to limit any cells, really, that we're looking for. So this cannot be, this has to specifically add up to 10 with 8 or 9. So this is 1 or 2. And obviously it can't be 1 because of this 1, so this must be 2, which forces this to be 8 and makes that a 9. Well, what can the 2 be next to? Actually, we should look at what 5 can be next to. 5 can only be next to 1 or 9 on a Dutch whisper line, right? If you subtract 4 from 5, you'll get 1 and below. If you add 4 from 5, you'll get 9 and above. But 1 and 9 are the only valid digits. Well, this can't be 1, so this must be the 9, which makes this a 1. That 1 forces this to be a 4, which makes that a 1. Again, 4 on a Dutch whisper line can only be next to 8 and 9. So this has to be 8 and 9 because those are the only possibilities in possible. Well, we have an 8, 9, 8, 9 pair now in row 9, which eliminates 8 and 9 from the rest of the row. So this can't be 8 or 9. This can't be 8 or 9. The possibilities here are 2, 6, and 7, but 2 cannot be next to a 1 on a Dutch whisper line. So therefore, this is 6 or 7. And what digit can be next to a 6 or 7 on a Dutch whisper line, which is one of these 3 digits? It can only be 2, right? If it's 6 or 7, it would be next to another 6 or 7, which is only a difference of 1, which is not allowed. So therefore, this must be a 2. This can't be 2. And this can't be 2. So therefore, this can't be 3 because these add up to 5. Next to a 9, you have to have either a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 on a Dutch Whisper line. Well, we already have 1, 2, and 4. 1, 2, 4, and 5 accounted for in column 1. So this must be a 3. 3 can only be next to a 7, 8, or 9 on a Dutch Whisper line. Therefore, this must be 7. It can't be 8 or 9 because we already have an 8 or 9 in the column. Therefore, this must be a 6, which is next to the 2. And that works. These pair of digits add up to 10. So, and where is the 4 going to be in box 7? It has to be one of these two cells, which means the other cell has to be a 6 to add up to 10 with it. So therefore, this has to be 4 and 6, which makes this a 7 and makes this a 6. So this cannot be 6. Where else can we limit things? This can be a 1, 3, or 5 because 9 can be next to 1 through 5, but 2 and 4 are already taken in the box. If we don't have any information there. The 6 can only be next to a 1 or 2 on a Dutch Whisper line, right? Because you subtract 4 from 6, you get 2 or less, which can be next to it. If you add 4 to 6, you get 10 or above, which is obviously not a digit. So this is 1 or 2. This is 1, 2, or 3. This digit must be at least 4 away from 2, which would be the minimum here. So therefore, it has to be at least a 6, but we already have a 6 here, and it cannot be 9. So this has to be at least 6, but less than 9. So it has to be 7 or 8 here. Yeah, and this is how we just limit things in general. This cannot be 1, 2, or 4, or 6. So it could be 3 or 5 or 9, right? 3 can be next to 7, 8, or 9. 5 can be next to a 9, and 9 can be next to a 5. So this can never be 6 then. If this were a 6, this would be basically... the 6 cannot be next to a 3. The 6 cannot be next to a 5. And the 6 cannot be next to 7, 8, or 9. And 1, 2, and 4 are already eliminated because of the 1, 2 pair in box 3 and this 4 in column 7. So this can never be a 6. This can never be a 6. Well, where is the 6 in column 6? It can only be here. So this is a 6. This can no longer be a 3 because it has a 6 next to it on a Dutch Whisper line, and 3 can never be next to a 6 on a Dutch Whisper line. So this is 2. The 2 can be next to any of 7, 8, or 9. That's fine. These digits are consecutive. Does that tell us anything? I'm not sure. Probably not. This 1 or 2 can be next to a 5, 7, 8, or 9 here. Because it could be next to, it could be a 1. What else do we have? This is a 6. A 6 can only be next to a 1 or 2 on the Dutch Whisper line. So this is 1 or 2. The 1 or 2 can be next to a 5 through 9 on a Dutch Whisper line, but it can't be 6 here, obviously. This digit could be a 1, which would make that a 2, so that's possible. It could be a 3, which would also be next to a 2, so that's possible because it can't be next to a 4. This could be 5. No, it cannot be 5. If this is 5, this would have to be 4 or 6, but both of those are eliminated, so that can't be 5. It could be 6 if it were next to a 5, So this could be 6, and this could be 5. But this can't be 6 because we have a 4-6 pair in column 3, which eliminates 4 and 6 from the rest of the column. So this can't be 6. It can't be 7, 8, or 9 for the possibilities. So therefore, this has to be a 2. This has to be 1 or 3. Well, the 2 cannot be next to a 5 on a Dutch whisper line, so this can't be 5. It can be next to an 8 or 9, so that's valid here. This 1 or 3 can be next to 5, 8, or 9. Yeah, and that's it, right? It can't be a low number here because 1 through 1, 2, 3, or 4 is not 4 away from 1 or 3. Therefore, this has to be a high number, which means this has to be 4 away from this number. Sorry, this has to be a high number, so this has to be 4 away from that, which can mean only that this is a 5 and this is a 9, and therefore this has to be a 1. This can no longer be 9. This can't be 1. So this is 7 or 8. This has to be a 3-8 pair here. This has to be specifically a 2-8 pair. So we have a 2-8 pair in column 2, which eliminates 8 from 2 and 8 from the rest of the column. So this can't be 8. This must be 3, which makes that an 8. The remaining digits have to be 3 and 5 here, and this has to be 6 or 7 here as a possibility. So we're just using the Dutch whispers to essentially find ways to limit what our possibilities are, and that with the other clues, like for example, this forcing this to be 1 or 3 gives us essentially limitations that we have. This has to be 5 through 9, and it can be any of them. This is 7, 8, or 9, so this could be 1 through 5, but it can't be 2. So this is 3 or 5 here specifically. Okay, what else do we have that we can eliminate? This is specifically 3, 5, 7, or 8. Right, because those are the only digits remaining. Well, this can't be 3 because of this 3. I think that's all that we're really limited there to. What can this 2 cells be, right? They add up to 10, and it cannot be 2 and 8 because we have 8 here. It can't be 3 or 7. So this is specifically 1, 9, or 4, 6. Well, we know one of these digits is a 1 or 4. One of these digits is, both of these digits must be 2 from 1, 2, and 4. So we have 3 cells in row 6 which must contain 1, 2, and 4. And the 2 has to be one of these 2 cells because this can't be 2 because it would have to be 2 and 8 added together. Therefore, 1, 2, and 4 are eliminated from the rest of the cells in row 6, so the rest of the cells have to be specifically 5, 6, or 9. And this is 5, 6, or 9 also. Well, this can't be 6 because of this 6, so this is 5 or 9. Well, if this were 5 then, this would have to be a 9 to accommodate, but that's not allowed, right? Because that would eliminate all possibilities for that cell. So this can never be 5. It has to be a 3, which is next to a 7, 8, or 9 only. Well, we have a 7, 8, 9 triplet in box 5, which eliminates 7, 8, and 9 from the rest of the box. So therefore, this can't be a 9, which makes that a 5. This can't be 5, so it's 6 or 9 here. This can't be 7, 8, or 9, so this also must be 1, 2, or 4, but this has to be 1 or 4 specifically only. 1 or 4 can be next to 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. on a Dutch whisper line? Well, we now have a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 quintuplet in row 3, which eliminates 5 through 9 from the rest of the row. So this can't be 5 through 9. This has to be a 3, and therefore it has to be 4. The 3 can only be next to a 7, 8, or 9, and the 7, 8, or 9 has to be next to another digit, which is 4 away, which the only possibility now is 5 and 9. 9 being here and 5 being here. The 5 can only be next to a 1 and a 9 on the Dutch whisper line. So this is a 1, which makes this a 2, which makes this a 4, which makes this a 1. So then this cannot be 4 and 1. This has to be a 2, 3 pair. This can't be 5 or 9. This can't be 5 or 9. And this can't be a 9. Well, we have a 7, 8, 7, 8 pair in box 5, which eliminates 7, 8 from the rest of the box. So this is a 9. Let's see. What else do we have? This can no longer be 9, so that means this is an 8. This can't be 8, so this is 9. This can't be 9. This can't be 8, so therefore this is 7, which makes this an 8. This can't be 7, 8, or 9, so this must be a 5. This 5 could only have been next to a 9, so this can't be 5 anymore. So this must be a 2. The 2 is next to a 7 or 8, and it can only be next to a 6 or a 9 here, which means this can't be 6 or 9. This has to be then a 9, which makes this a 1 and this a 6. These can't be 3 and 8 anymore, so it has to be 5 or 7 here. Well, we have this has to be a 1 because of this 2. So this is a 1, which makes that 2, which makes that 3, which makes that 2. This can no longer be 3, so this is a 5, which makes that 3. 5 can only be next to 1 and a 9 on a Dutch whisper line, so this is a 1. This can't be 8 anymore because of this 8. Therefore, we have a 6, 7, 6, 7 pair in row 3, which eliminates 6 and 7 from the rest of the row, so this must be an 8, which makes this a 7, which makes this a 5, and makes that a 7. This can't be 2 because of this 2, so this must be 8, which makes that a 2. We have all the 2s now, I think, right? This has to be a 4, specifically. The remaining digits are 3 and 8, but this can't be 3, so this is an 8, which makes that a 3. This can't be 8, so this is a 7. Therefore, that makes that an 8 as the last remaining digit. Last 2 digits, and this is just now Sudoku, right? Yeah, because all the other clues are essentially done. So this has to be 5 or 9, but this can't be 9, so this is 5. This has to be 9. This is 6, 7, or 4. Whoops. So this is 4, 6, or 7, but this can't be 6 specifically. The last remaining digit here is a 5. Last 2 digits here are 6 and 8, but this can't be an 8 because of this 8, so this must be a 6, which makes that an 8, which makes this 4, and therefore this is a 6. The last 2 digits here are 7 and 9, but this can't be 9, so this is a 7, which makes that 9, and therefore that shows this is just normal Sudoku. This is 3 and 4, but this can't be 3, so this must be 4, which makes that a 3. That makes this a 7. That makes that a 6. That's a 4. This is a 6, and this must be a 7. And that's how you solve it. Yeah, fairly straightforward. Again, I look for things that limit things the most in puzzles. I don't always get it. I will say that. Sometimes I start off on one path and find that it's very actually complex. But after you've done enough of certain types of puzzles, you'll start seeing certain patterns where things get really limited, right? So for example, I was able to spot the V's here, right? And then I was able to use essentially the V dominoes essentially to limit what other cells could be. right? So that gave me this pair, essentially, which had to be 5 through 9. So obviously this also had to be a low, which limited certain things, because this was 1 through 4. Therefore, this had to be a 2 or 3, which meant this couldn't be 2 and 3, which means that was 1 and 4. Obviously, that limited this aspect. And also just knowing that the limitations on the Dutch whisper lines, right? Because this had to be 7, 8, or 9. These had to be 8 or 9. This had to be 1 or 9, and this is 1 or 2. So actually, probably going this route was probably not the best route, because this was the least limiting of the Dutch whisper lines. And we got there anyways, so... But yeah, when you try solving these puzzles, again, try to find the way that limits things the most. That's not always easy to spot, right? Because some puzzles will be harder than others. But that's usually just the approach that I take in general. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Learn How to Sudoku, and I'll see you next time on Frank Puzzles. Take care.